Hello, sweet friend. My name is Micah, and in this video I would like to show you how you can create these cute cat journaling spots. Really fun. I had featured these in a video all about how you can use watercolor in your journal, and a lot of you were interested in seeing a tutorial, so I'm just very happy to create that here for you, and I very much hope that you're gonna follow along. Please feel inspired, even if you are a beginner when it comes to drawing or watercolor. I think these are very easy to make. They're based off of simple shapes, and you can really have a lot of fun just with filling them with color and putting little quotes in them and whatnot. I decided to put some quotes about cats in them, so yeah, but you can fill them, of course, with whatever you want. So all you need is some water and then some watercolors. I have this palette right here with some half pans that is filled with just colors that I like to use a lot. And then it's good to have a brush. I'm using this Princeton Neptune travel brush in the size 8. I've just found that this is personally for me a great size to work in journals. But yeah, just pick a brush that you feel comfortable with. And then when you work with watercolor, it's always great to have cloth or just paper towels on hand to wipe off any excess water or any excess color. So I suggest having that here, and then we're just gonna use a pencil to draw out the designs, and then you can pick out some colored pencils. We're gonna use these to add some of the details into the cats, like the fur markings and the little faces and whiskers, that kind of stuff. And then, of course, you are going to need something to draw on, and either pick some separate sheets of paper if you want to practice first, or put them in your journal directly. I'm going to draw them out on this Midori paper here, just to show you, and I'm going to draw them a little bigger, just also makes it easier for you to see what I'm doing. But I figured it would be nice to do this on Midori paper rather than watercolor paper, because if you are doing this in a journal, then of course the paper will behave a little differently than, say, watercolor paper. Especially Midori paper tends to be very quick drying when it comes to watercolor, so it would be a little bit deceptive, I guess, if I worked on actual watercolor paper. Because the colors just flow a little differently, take longer to dry, those kinds of things. But that's all very technical, nitty-gritty. You don't need to worry about that. So, if you have all of your supplies ready, let's start with drawing out the first cat. And so, I'm going to show you again. We have this cat here. As you can see, I opted to not include any paws, so it's really just cat in a loaf format. So we have a head, the main body, and then a tail, and I pretty much left this bottom here straight. And so first of all, I start with the ears. I don't know why, I just have found that comes most natural to me, and it helps with measuring out how big the head is going to be. And maybe I'll zoom you in a little bit too. Okay. All right, so let's start. We're gonna make a triangle for one ear. Oh my goodness, can you even see? I think I'm gonna have to press more than I would usually do if I was just drawing these on myself. Okay, I think that's better. So you're gonna draw a triangle for the one ear, and then a short straight line towards the next ear, which is another triangle, like so. Now for the face, I like to just create a little bit of a bowed, curved line on the one side, just indicating basically the cheek area. And then you can go ahead and extend the line from the ear on the other side just in a straight manner, like so. And now we're gonna just go down for the body and then indicate that curve here just to have it be the loaf shape of a cat, and then in almost like a straight line just extend that. I think that's good. And then again, just similar to a bread, we're gonna create a little bit of a curved line here up top for the cat's back, like so. And then again, just pretty much more or less straight down. And then I left a little gap here because that's where the tail is gonna come out. So for the tail, again, just almost like an ellipses, is that correct? And then it's a pretty fat tail, but I guess this cat is puffy, has a lot of fur. Okay, yeah, I think that turned out all right. I would probably, or well, not probably, I am going to neaten that up just slightly with an eraser. Let me just erase some of these wonkadonk lines. I mean, a little wobble, I find that very charming, but here some of these lines are going off a little much, and also because I pressed down so hard, they're probably gonna be visible once we put the watercolor on there. Okay, and then maybe this line again. It is very fascinating to draw and talk at the same time. It's not usually something I do very often. Okay, and then the face details we're gonna actually add once we have the color in. Although maybe we'll do just a little indicator. Yeah, let's do a little indicator. So we're gonna have obviously 2 eyes. And I like to make sure that the eyes line up more or less with the inner corners of the ears. So you're gonna just go down, and I like to just give these cats some dot eyes, like so. And I do the eyes first because then I can just estimate where the middle of them is and put the nose there. So you're just gonna draw in a little V and then a straight line down, just like so, and then some whiskers. And you might want to draw these lighter than what I did here, because it can be fun to add colored pencil over top of them. But yeah, I just need to press down a little harder so you can see on camera. Let's start adding some base color to this cat before drawing any of the other cat bodies, so that this can dry while we draw the other cats. So in my example there, I made a purple cat, and I think that's quite fun. So I'm gonna do that again, just playing around with more unnatural colors, I guess. But here we have, this is a mix of this lavender color here. This is called ruby red, which is sort of like a cool leaning red, and a little bit of this beigey color here, which is quite fun. So that's a little different than what I have in my example, but I quite like this mixture. And when working with watercolor and mixing colors, it's a good tip to kind of go for a mixture of color and water that's almost like soy sauce. That way you have sort of like a good consistency. I'm also thinking, because I made this cat quite big, I'm probably going to need more color than that. Again, Midori paper tends to dry out really quickly. So if you start putting color on the body and you run out of your color mixture, then this is gonna, while you mix more of the color, the body is gonna dry and you get some really harsh lines of where you pick up the coloring again. And, you know, to some degree that's fine. I mean, we're drawing cats, that's just gonna turn into texture, fur texture. But if you wanna avoid any unnecessary harsh lines, then it's a good idea to make sure that you have enough color, and that might be enough. And as you can maybe tell, I'm not too precious with my pans, so I'm not drying off my, or rinsing off my colors before dipping into another color. That's just a personal preference thing. If you would like to keep your pans a little cleaner, that's fine. I like my colors a little muddied up anyway, so that's not a big deal. Okay, maybe I can show you what I mean with soy sauce consistency. Do you see that? I think a beginner mistake with watercolor is to make the mixtures too thin. But yeah. And then I basically just fill the entire cat with this one color, just a base coat of one color. So you're really just gonna go in and just try to stay in the lines as much as possible. If you want that. I mean, you know, you can do whatever you want with your piece. And then we're gonna load back up. And then I actually just embrace that it's probably gonna dry a little textured anyway. So I'm really swishing my brush around so that I am going to have a lot of texture and that it is gonna almost indicate some fur. All right. And again, I probably wouldn't have made the outline this dark, but yeah, you can tell the face is already drying. And then we're going to put that aside to dry. Now, the second cat actually does have some feetses. We'll have some paws out. But similar to our first cat, we have a very sort of rectangular body, a little bit more flattened out at the top. But yeah, a rectangle body. We're doing the same thing with the face, with the two ears and then a straight line between them, and then we're bowing out on one side of the face but leaving it pretty straight on the other side. And yeah, we're just gonna have some fun with adding some legs, and then again we have a tail there. Okay. Oh, and I have it facing the opposite direction, so if you're stacking them, that's kind of fun. So then they go left, right, left. All right, we're starting the same way again, which is we're starting with one ear and then creating the straight line towards the next ear with the triangle shape, and then creating the curved side for the cheek, curving a little bit, and then almost following that line, curving inwards just slightly, and then we're getting to the legs, and the legs almost have a paperclip shape, but taper them a little bit more than a paperclip would be. So you're going like this. That is one leg, and then another leg. They're just right next to each other, so there's no body in between, basically. And then we're gonna extend this line down further, like so maybe. And now we're doing the bottom of the body, which is just straight flat on the whatever the cat is laying on. And then we have another feet, and so here we're doing basically only the tip of the leg, like so, and then we're just gonna extend that a little further. So basically the leg is like this. And then I guess it's probably easiest if we pick back up here and then again doing straight for the body, and then we're gonna curve down towards that hind leg there. And then we probably could have left a little bit more space, because we're also gonna have the tail come up and curve around like so. And connect the two. Like so. Yes, very whimsical, but I think that still reads as a cat. And then similarly, we can start to indicate the face. So again, the eyes sit right on the inside, aligned with the inside corner of the ear there. So eye number 1, eye number 2, and then the nose sits in the middle with a little V and a straight line. And then there's gonna be whiskers. And then with this cat, hold on, I'll zoom you out again. With this cat, I'm gonna go for a little bit more of a natural brown color. I have quite a few browns to choose from here. Just one note about browns or earthy colors. Sometimes your watercolors in those earthy tones are based on minerals, and they can feel a little gritty, which is obviously fine, except that it sometimes makes it a little funkier to draw on. So that's just something to keep in mind. I think I'm gonna try out this color here because this is one of my newest watercolors. This is raw umber. So I'm just gonna go with that, and then maybe I'll just mix in on whatever this is still on my palette, which is kind of the nice thing about palettes that aren't quite too clean. You can always find little bits of color that just makes things exciting. But that is not enough color. This will not be lasting for that entire body there. So mixing some more of that. Oops. I sprinkled some color on my paper there. And again, going for that almost soy sauce consistency. And I think I said that, you know, it's very easy to make your watercolors too watery. If you're working with very thin journal paper, that of course causes more buckling than you might want. With Tomoe River paper, that also means it takes quite a lot longer to dry if you make it wetter than it has to be, basically. But then also when watercolor is too wet and you make it such a big puddle like this for the fur, it'll get these very specific kind of like rims around it. I don't know if I'm explaining that well. There's a specific kind of way that too wet watercolor dries. And yeah, I've created this situation for myself that I was warning you about, which is to run out of your color mixture before you've filled in the entire cat. And again, I'm just being really, rough with my brush strokes, embracing the fact that this is not watercolor paper and things are gonna dry quickly and probably cause streaking anyways, and so I'm leaning into that and just make it look like fur. And then can't forget the tail. And of course you could play around with leaving some of the body uncolored to create some light areas in the fur, but just for simplicity's sake, we're just gonna fill it all the way. Okay, and now we put this cutie away to dry. Kitty number 3 is again sort of very much loaf shaped, like our first kitty was, but this time we are going to indicate where at least the front paws are. And what's different this time, we're going to make the tail be part of the body shape, so the tail does not break out of the silhouette here. And we're going to try to achieve this head tilt here. And maybe I can, because this one has that head tilt, maybe I can bring that in a little bit further so you can see more. So in order to achieve this little head tilt, it's actually easier to start with that middle straight line rather than with the ear. So you're just gonna do a slight angle with your line, and then you're going to attach the ears like so. And then from here, it's almost the same thing. We're just again doing that bowed line for the cheek area there. And then on the opposite side, we're keeping it almost straight. We're bowing out maybe just a little bit towards the bottom here where the cat is laying on the floor or whatever. And so from here, we're going straight. And then this is where the legs are gonna be. So you're basically estimating the middle line, which obviously would curve here where the head curves, but then would sort of more or less go straight down. And this is where more or less the feet are gonna, the feetses are going to overlap. And we're basically creating a very flat triangle with a somewhat curved end to indicate the feet. And so this is the leg that's going in front. And then for the back one, you only need to create this angled line, like so. You're creating this almost like a V shape here in the front, and that's where the legs are. And then for our back area, we're again creating sort of like a bread loaf shape, and then we're curving where it goes down to the end here, or the back. And then this time we're closing this all the way off, because then the tail is just going to be drawn in right here. And there we have it, a cat that is tilting her head and has her legs crossed in front of her. And then for the eyes, it's the same thing again. You want to go parallel to the inner ear, but this time, of course, you're going to parallel means at an angle to the angle of the head tilt. Oh my goodness, I'm just hoping that this all makes sense. So yeah, so maybe this is one eye and the other eye, and in the middle of it, the V for the nose. And some whiskers. Cute! For this cat, I did sort of a peachy fur color, which is quite fun. And that I created with this beigey color. This is called Palo Santo. I got that from a small business owner. Julie Maggi is her name. She creates these wonderful watercolors. You could use something like buff titanium. A bunch of watercolor big brands make that kind of color. And then I just mix that with a little bit of this ruby red color, which is more or less a bright pink magenta. And I think we need more Palo Santo than we need the pink. That's probably not helping that I'm mixing that right where I also had all that purple. But I think we're getting there. Maybe more of this. Yeah. Okay. Do I think that's enough color? Maybe. And then, same as the other cats, we're just filling in the body. Just again, being pretty rough and carefree with the strokes. And and what you could also play around with is introducing multiple colors. If you want to have them wet and wet sort of mix with each other. That's going to be a little bit trickier on Midori paper just simply because the color dries so quickly. So that might be a little bit challenging. Also, it's currently quite warm in my office, so that is also making the watercolor dry pretty quickly. But yeah, just like that. And there we have it, our beige cat. And now that the cats are dry, they're ready for some detailing with some colored pencils. And here you can really see how rough I was with the brush strokes. Maybe I could have been a little bit more tame, especially around that face there. But still quite cute. And then the last one with the sort of like peachy color, really cute. And like I mentioned, if I was not doing this on camera, I would have done the pencil work a lot lighter, because once you go over pencil with watercolor, that tends to seal in the pencil lines. So if I took my eraser, if I can find it, I can't erase this now because it's sort of sealed in with the watercolor. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind. And for the colored pencil work, basically what I've done is to just create some stripes around the back and in the tail. I gave the cats some cute rosy cheeks, and then I took like a outline color and indicated a little bit more where like the, you know, where the ears are, or where things overlap, or where things touch the ground, to make that a little darker there. And I also added a little bit of color here on the nose. Yeah, so I'll show you with this purple cutie here. So let's see here. We have these Durant drawing pencils. Maybe this is a good match. Oh yes, that is good. And then for the pink cheeks, I think I'm gonna use this Salmon Polychromos. And then do we want something that is even darker for some parts? Maybe. This is a Polychromos in dark red. Oh, but there's also this Derwent Ruby Earth. Yeah, that might be a little better because it's a little cooler in color. Okay, we'll start with these then. First of all, because it's the most fun part, I think, is to give them rosy cheeks, which of course makes no sense because cats have fur and you can't see them have blushy rosy cheeks, but it's cute, so I'm doing it. And then we can also add some of that pink color to the nose. Maybe we'll sort of start to blend that in over top. I guess we could also add some of that pinky color in the inside of the ear. Like so, maybe. Yeah, that's cute. And then with this purpley color, I like to just add a little bit of a darker color on the outside ear, if that makes sense. So this side here and this side there, just to almost indicate the three-dimensionality of the ears, even though obviously I'm keeping the general design very flat. And then I thought it was quite cute to just also have a little bit of darker color going down towards the nose here. And then in general, I'm just picking some areas to darken around the outline. Again, this is obviously a little bit harder because I have such a dark pencil line. Let's try this color for the whiskers as well. Yeah, I think that works. And then maybe some more darker lines here. and towards the end of the tail, and some here. And then I obviously leave a lot of this space blank because these are supposed to be journal spots, so I do want to have space to write, which I'll also keep in mind once I'm adding these stripes. Now I'm just doing just a very rough, scribbly, just something to let loose and have fun with. And I just go down and make these almost like triangles, and I do imagine them curving around just slightly around the body, not too much, because again, this whole design is very flat, and so it would be kind of weird if all of a sudden this turned into something really dimensional. But you know, just a little bit, and then I give the tail some stripes because it's fun, like so. And then just to make it interesting, we can take that second color there and mix that into the other marks, just as if the color of the fur has some variation to it. And so we're doing the same thing, just mixing another color in. And, you know, maybe they don't quite overlap. There's just more scribbly scribble. Again, these cats are so fun to make, and yeah, I hope you're having a blast following along and making these too, because really it's just a lot of picking your colors and then having fun with big blobby loafy cats. That's really all there is to it. Oh, and then we could use this darker color too I would have used that for the eyes, but I think that's not gonna show up even on top of this dark pencil line, which is fine. I kind of like having those be color as well, but oh well. Oh, and now I smudged that colored pencil there. But yeah, that's basically it, and that's just what you're gonna do with all of them. Just pick some colors, and maybe you wanna pick the lighter color back up and go in there, and again mix them some more. But yeah, play around with having them be all naturally colored, like browns and beige, and I guess you can make a black one, and then if you want to use it as a journal spot, you could write on with Write Jelly Roll or some sort of like, yeah, gel ink. But yeah, here is the purple cat, and again, lots of space to write in. Really cute. I'm going to finish off the other ones off camera because it's really just repeating this with different colors, but I'm going to show you once they're all done. All right, all of the cats are finished, and I think they turned out quite cute. This boy turned out a little darker than anticipated, so this might be a little challenging to write on. So I don't know, I think I could have done a lighter brown and maybe calmed down the brush strokes a little bit. And yeah, I guess also the colored pencil might have been a bad choice here with those dark browns, but he's still a cutie. And then this one actually turned out to be my favorite. I love this color palette with the peachy undertone and then the pinks and the terracotta in the stripes, really cute. And then of course that head tilt is so charming, and then you still have quite a bit of writing space with this one, so yeah, she might be my favorite. But I hope you had fun drawing along and painting along, and that you were successful in creating your own little cat journaling spots. And yeah, please give me feedback. Let me know how it turned out for you if you do end up making these. And if you have more questions, please ask. I can always make follow-up videos, explain something in more detail, or show something else more specific if you have specific questions. I'd love to help out. So yeah, but I hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for sharing this time with me. Until next time, happy journaling!